What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Weekly Roar. I am super excited today to address our topic at hand. And so it was inspired by a friend, Rick, who is in real estate and reached out to me the other day and said that he has a fear of making cold calls and knocking on doors, which, if you're in sales, raise your hand. Have you had this issue? You know, I'll raise mine loud and proud over here. I have had a career in sales since I got in sales when I was 21 years old, and have been in an array of things, whether, you know, I started off with some comfy retail and didn't necessarily get out there and have to make phone calls. And when I would be threatened to have to make phone calls, I'd get that pit in my stomach and get really nervous. And then one day I jumped out into B2B sales. I've done a lot of different things. I've been in call centers. I worked at my worst job ever was working as an MDA, Muscular Dystrophy Association. I was the guy that was calling up and locking up business leaders in the community for the MDA cause, and talk about pit in my stomach every day. So I've went through the struggle, and Rick, I so greatly appreciate your opening up to your vulnerability and saying, I need this help. There's so many out there like yourselves that need to tackle that fear. So again, I've been there. I've had to go through a process myself and figure out how to get out there and fix the problem, because the first thing we have to understand is that while we don't like making calls, it is absolutely and completely 100% necessary. Yes, there are so many ways out there today to connect with the public, to connect with customers. You know, we have social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the, you know, the Twitters and interwebs, and so many different things to get out there and get people email. There are so many ways to contact. A lot of people that I've worked with, salespeople, are like, I just text my customers, and all of that is so many more options than what there were back in the day. But I'm going to argue that there is nothing like making that personal contact. So yeah, phone calls, cold calls, I get they can be uncomfortable. Knocking on doors can be uncomfortable. Going to networking events and meeting people, all of that stuff can be uncomfortable. But first thing we have to understand is it is completely 100% necessary to do, because an email goes out, a Facebook post goes out, and then we sit and we pray. We hope that it gets a response. We hope that somebody answers to it. Where a phone call, even, you know, if we're getting somebody on the line, we have a good chance to be able to establish rapport, create a relationship. Now the power is in our court. We're not just sitting on our hands and hoping and praying that somebody does respond. So calls are completely necessary, so get that out of the way. The number one most important thing, and we're going to do a call series. So we'll go through, there's several different ways to make good and effective phone calls, but today we're going to address the most important piece, and that is the mindset. So we all get preached, and this is the absolute truth, that behaviors create results. Our behaviors create results. So if we go in today and we don't want to make phone calls, and so we don't, those behaviors that we're doing, we're deciding not to make phone calls, or we're deciding to look up and see what's happening in football today, check into politics, whatever we're doing to spend our time, posting on Facebook or texting, doing the things that come easier to us and aren't making us as vulnerable to get out there. We're doing those things and wasting our time. But so the biggest thing is we are avoiding that stuff because we're scared, and it's our mindset. So behaviors drive our results, but guess what, guys? Mindset drives behaviors. So behaviors drive results, mindset drives behaviors. And so we could sit and talk about all the cool things that you could do to get your customers engaged and make great, awesome phone calls, and we'll get to that. But the first thing we're going to do right now and right today is address the mindset. So a couple things, and just kicking it off right out of the gates. Why are you scared? What's the fear? Why are you afraid? I've sat down with many salespeople and helped them through this process and help them to address the fears. And people tell me, I'm just not good at it, or this doesn't work. People don't want to hear from me. They don't want a phone call. I don't like making calls. Understand, no one likes making calls, okay? So that's the first thing to tackle out of the gates. Is it's a necessary evil, but we all struggle with it out of the gates. I didn't just all of a sudden say, oh my God, I love doing this. I want to make phone calls all day. But again, it's a necessary evil, so we got to jump into it. But the number one reasons I get, or it all boils down to, there's so many reasons why we get afraid, but let's ask ourselves and be honest, why are we afraid? And most of the time it boils down to, one, past experience. And what I mean by that is you're on the phone, you're cranking him out, and then someone tells you to get lost. Don't ever call me again. They swear at you. They tell you that, and this is the worst one, and if you've made a lot of phone calls, you probably have gotten this like I have, is when you call somebody and they say, oh, they passed away yesterday. I've had that happen, and that's a really awkward phone call. So that kind of stuff happens. The first thing you have to do out of the gates to conquer that fear is just understand and come to grips that that is going to happen no matter what. You're going to get rude people, just like you get rude people walking through your doors, or you get rude people at the restaurant that you encounter. There are going to be rude people, and there's nothing that you can do to change that. What you got to understand is, does it hurt your feelings? And yeah, it's emotional, it hurts your feelings, but what's going to happen? What's the absolute worst that's going to happen? Someone tells you, don't ever call me, blah, 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 yelling at you, and your feelings are hurt on the other end. But what I've noticed, and this is the really crazy thing, there are so many people that I've called that have done that to me, and then they've come in my location, or I've met them out at a networking event or out in the community, and they don't even know who I am. They didn't know that I was the one that made the call. So a lot of times we're more comfortable in our environment when we're talking one-on-one, but I'm going to argue that actually making phone calls gives you an even bigger power, an upper hand, because they don't know it's you, and they're not putting that face to the name. Most people are not listening when you introduce yourself at the beginning of the call. They just know they're getting a call from somebody that they don't know unless you've called them before. So again, fear is more on us, and we're afraid of that reaction. But just plow through it. You're going to get people that yell at you and say no. This is what I'm going to tell you to do instead. A lot of times we always focus on the bad. We always focus, you go to ask that girl out or that boy out and they say no, and, that hurts our heart. But we get back up because we want to have relationships. So we get back up and we ask somebody else out again, and then it works. And so while you have it stands out the bad calls, you remember them, remember the good calls. Remember the ones where people are so happy that you called and you were able to help them. Those are the calls that you've got to remember. So going into it, I would always use that trick, and as I was nervous or I was shaky, I was making my first call for the day, I would sit and I would think about the people that I helped the day before, the people that were happy that I called. Okay, so you're not having any success on the phone. Maybe you haven't had that experience. What do you do when you're meeting people face to face? When you're meeting your clients face to face, if they're coming into your location or you're, whatever way you're meeting people face to face, what are you doing to help people? What are you doing to add value? Why are you in business? What makes you stand out above your competition? These are all questions you've got to answer yourself and build that confidence up while you're on the phone. See, a lot of times it's what we see ourselves as. And I know I've been there. As I'm picking up the phone, I see myself as that guy in the kiosk that's just picking up. No one knows me. It's unpersonal because I could be in Bangladesh making that phone call, but I'm not in Bangladesh. I'm your community guy. I'm around the corner. I have a face. I have a name, and you can come and see me. And for my phone calls anyway, that's what I want. I don't want to make a sales call unless that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe you are in an environment where you're just making sales calls, and that's fine too. That's a different segment, but I want you to come in and see me. I want to get that face to face. So that's the whole goal behind it. So personal experience. This is another reason why people have that fear of making phone calls, is because personally they've gotten the cold calls. They've gotten people that have called them and they hate it, or they know that their dad used to hate it and their mom used to hate it, and grandpa used to get all upset when cold callers would call. And so you have this history built up of knowing that cold calling is bad. It's the same thing as car salesmen are bad, or whatever that hysteria is, whatever that mindset is. Over the years, you get taught that it's bad. Well, again, this all goes to your mindset. What are you doing? You're not a bad person. You're there to add value. You're calling because you have something that's going to help that person. And so you got to understand that if you don't have a product, if you're just calling and your number one goal is to make money and you don't have a product that's going to help people, then I can't help you. But you've got to identify, if I don't call them, do they fall into the competition? Do they get screwed? I hope, as for me, that I'm going to provide such a value that I'm going to help people. So even when I get people on the line that are mad at me because I'm calling, I have the confidence to say, you know what, I've helped so many people. So many customers are happy that I'm in their life and taking care of their needs. So I have that confidence to spit it back. You know what, I apologize that you're upset. I'll certainly take you off the list. The reason why I call is because of this, and my customers feel this. And a lot of times I was able to turn that around, but you got to have that conviction and that mindset. Feel it. Be passionate about it. Why are you in business? Why are you in business? And relay that. Why do you have the gall? Why do you have the cojones to be able to just call up and call someone and tell them, I can help you out? That's all it comes down to. So another reason that people struggle and with the mindset is just it's a new experience. You're brand new to making phone calls. Maybe you've been in sales for a long time, but you've always avoided it. You take all those bathroom breaks. Yeah, salespeople, I know that you don't have IBS. You're in that bathroom for so long avoiding those phone calls. But you got to make them, man. You got to make them. So jump out there. New experience. Yeah, it's going to hurt. You're going to fall. You're going to skin your knee. But I'm going to tell you, it's just like riding your bike. If you don't keep getting out there and keep pedaling, you're not going to get better. Learn what works. Learn what doesn't work. We'll go into more tips later, but just conquer that mindset and know that you're offering a value. Again, I'm just going to end this on what's your self-image? How do you feel about this? If you feel like you're that snaky person on the phone, or you feel like people think you're that person without integrity, you're thinking about how grandpa thought about cold callers, you got to understand things have changed. People want authenticity and they want value. And if you're that warm body on the other end, don't feel bad about making calls because you're helping people. You're helping people. All right, I hope this one helps. We ran a little bit longer than I wanted, but we're gonna do the series and I'll add some more content to this. So check back. I wanna help as many people as I can. So feel free to share with your friends, share on your social media. Phone calls are not that bad, everybody. All we gotta do is conquer that mindset. So have a great day. Talk to you next week.